like to now move on to our next fireside chat. So we're moving on to this interesting new concept of, well, new in the last 12 months, the hybrid working. So will it stay the course during the pandemic? Speaking on this, we have Cassandra Kirk, who is Head of Design and Strategy at Axiom Workplaces. Welcome, Cassandra.
Hi, Tony. How are you? Nice to
thank
be
you
here.
very much. And Cassandra's being joined by Dr. Christhina Candido, who is Associate Professor and Director of the She Lab at Melbourne School of Design, the University of Melbourne. Welcome.
Hi, Cassandra.
Hi, Christhina.
Great to have you here today. The hybrid office. See, this time last year at Workplace Wellness Festival, we were all sitting at home. So now we have this new interesting conversation about the hybrid workplace. So I'll pass it over to you.
Yes, thank you for that, Tony. I appreciate it. Look, it's fascinating, isn't it, Christhina? Of course, we've been rapidly accelerated into this hybrid working environment as we're returning out of our homes back into our offices and working to a style that is suitable for each organisation. And it's absolutely fascinating how every organisation is dealing with this differently. What's your experience has been, Christhina, and as you're seeing this change rapidly?
Very, very challenging indeed. I think, since last year, we all have learned the good, the bad, and the ugly about working away from HQ. I think we can also agree that I don't think this is going away anytime soon. So I think after most workers had a taste of the positive aspects of flexi working arrangements, it's really difficult to let it go, isn't it? I think there are very good sides of be able to spend more time with family, not be wasting our time in commute to and from work, and actually dedicate or redirect that time to something else. At the same time, that comes with a lot of challenges from people and organizations when it comes to really managing this hybrid tribe of workers, and how we're going to go about being careful with burnout and mental health related issues, but also very practical aspects of, how people are going to actually have proper ergonomic office setups when they're not at the office. So, and most importantly, really making people still feel connected in that sense of belonging and trust that's so important to us all. So very interesting times. I think there is a huge opportunity and a huge potential, but of course, not an easy thing to just jump onto it. Yes,
no, absolutely. I agree, Christhina. We're working with so many clients at the moment that is trying to find that right size that fits them. And what is the blend? Is it 2 days in the office or is it 4 days in the office? And I think that we need to just reflect on creating strategies to define what it is they need from their organisation, and also organisational goal and ethos to move forward in a similar direction, but also how can they support their employees, and what are the benefits to the employees, and how will that help their goals in the future as well. And it's just super fascinating, some of the information that's coming to my work at the moment, and defining that for many organisations, and it's so varied. It really is. I'm definitely finding organisations such as lawyers or even science lab, that sort of scenario, are definitely moving back to the office. But we've opened so many doors. Call centres can operate from home now, whereas that would have been completely unthought of 12 months ago. So, look, the period we've just come through has opened so many new opportunities, and it's just really a case of defining what's the best way forward for each individual organisation and employee group as we move forward to determine what that path should be.
You're right. I think in really finding what is going to work for that specific organization is so important. It has never been. It was already important before. And has never been so important. I think there is this magical combination in looking back at research over the last decade or so in high-performing workplaces. all the elements are there. It is about leadership, it's about culture, and it's about really engaging people on what you believe is best for the organization, for people. And I don't think the pandemic changed that. I think it doesn't really matter if you are at the office every day or if you are at the office 3 days a week. All of these basic aspects, they still going to be able to actually push workers and organizations on the right direction. I think at the same time, I think we learned that there is little room from low performance when it comes to the physical configuration of spaces. People keep talking about, how much work they can actually get done when they're working away from HQ, simply because they can concentrate. They don't have the same amount of interruptions that they had when they are at the office. And that just points to issues that we all know in terms of open plan offices before the pandemic hit. So in addition to that, which has been spoken a lot during the day, there is this shift from nice to have to must have. And I think health and well-being is front center to that conversation. I do think that people do expect to get better at the way that workplaces are thought. And it'll be quite interesting to see where the limitation, the boundaries will be. It's not only about when people are, and the duty of care is not only when they are at HQ, it's working from anywhere, anytime. So huge opportunity again, but a lot of risks and challenges.
Look, that's a huge challenge for organisations is the duty of care when people are working from home. That could open a whole other 15-minute discussion for us. But what I want to also point out is how wonderful this level of flexibility has become. And you said that these behaviours were in place at the pre-pandemic, and it's becoming very critical that we identify those and determine how we can move forward. Absolutely. But it's really important to note the benefits for employer and employee in this new hybrid working environment. Of course, from the employee point of view, you've got so much more flexibility. You spoke a moment ago about how wonderful it is to be able to have a great work-life balance, for example. But there's also the challenges for the employee around maintaining a connection to purpose and then also to brand. So I do believe there is a really strong place for a hybrid working environment. It's just settling on the right balance would be my take on it. And what does that look like?
Look, I think it looks like whatever people want to make of it. So I think, again, there will be organizations that it really doesn't work not to have people together at the office at the same time. But I think most organizations can compromise, if you actually call it a compromise at all, to have workers coming back to HQ a few days a week. On the other side of the spectrum, you're going to have different organizations that, they actually feel they don't really need to have people around 5 days a week or any day of the week at all. So just go full hybrid. I think the reality is we don't really know what the mid and long-term impacts of this change will have on us. I think it needs to have an experimental approach. Data has never been so important before, all the way from people data to really workplace performance data, utilization data that will inform how you're going to calibrate even the number of workstations you have at any time of the week. So I think it's a time for fast response, but also informed response through data. And most workplaces will have a wealth of data for us to actually mine. So I think in moving forward, these elements are just going to become even more important.
Yes, absolutely. And, what I love about that data is being able to put a quantitative number on something that is often a decision that can be quite intuitive, if you know what I mean. So it's taking that gut feeling, this is right for our organisation and our employees, and putting numbers around it that supplement that and help organisations to make decisions. What is really important, and I am really very focused on in determining with my current workplace transformation work, is the purpose of VC when we pair that up with hybrid working. So if we are going to have a workplace where people may not come to the office every day, or they may not come at all, then what does it mean for the technology and also the physical space to support those people that are outside the office? So how can we level the playing field? How can we make sure that we've got the right technology, we've got the right setup, we've got the right acoustics, the lighting is great, people are joining meetings on an equal playing field, whether there's 2 people in the office and 5 outside the office, or everyone's virtual? What's your experience been on that?
I think a lot of these aspects I would put in you just don't know yet. Yeah. I think we come on the back of 2020 with this huge issue around Zoom and technology-related fatigue and burnout and the tiredness that was hitting us up. We now actually learn how to manage all of that through breaks and actually engaging with different technologies, or making the most of different platforms, not to be just staring at the screen all the time. So I think the learning comes as we go as well. And organizations have been, I think, incredibly fast, especially in Australia, to adapt and actually try to make the most of it. It's quite interesting to actually have these discussions with other researchers in other countries, and they talk about the workplace of the future. And we are actually living the future as we go, because we have the luxury to be back at the office. So the conversations we're having in Australia are quite different from other parts of the world at the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think we get better at many of these aspects, and I think this is completely uncharted territory because of the scale. So although flexible working arrangements have been there forever, and the appetite, especially from millennials, which has been widely documented, the scale of the uptake in having every single one of us have had the experience, at least during lockdowns, and most of the time since we're free from lockdowns as well. I think we're really just going to get better at learning how to engage and to work on this way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we both agree that hybrid working is here to stay. It just depends on the percentages, or the amount that people are going to be in the office, and the amount that people are going to be working in a cafe or a co-working space, or whatever that might look like, is actually organisation dependent. We will get better at it, and all of those things that we talked about, great technology, great behaviours, great spaces, physical workspaces that support hybrid working, is certainly being is a work in progress for the future workspace.
It is, absolutely. And I think if organizations are actually struggling big time to bring people back to the office, something is definitely wrong. So you really need to have a serious think and consideration of the culture of the workplace, the space of the workplace. What is it that is wrong? Because the magic number of between 2 to 3 days a week to be at the office is not unique to Australia. It's the same thing that comes over and over from research in academic industry around the globe. So that little number there means something that we cannot ignore. But the ones that are really having to have a stick approach to say come back for 5 days a week, something is wrong, and it was wrong before. So it's just the pandemic is highlighting all the structural issues that were already there before the pandemic hit us.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic, fascinating conversation, ladies. I mean, it's I guess it's a whole new world out there, and I suspect we'll be talking about the hybrid office next year, next year's workplace wellness.
I think we will. Hopefully, we'll have some great lessons learned over the last 12 months, and some new things that we can work towards.
Yeah, exactly. All right, super. So thank you very much, and thanks